we can be starting right about now. Then the rest will meet us progress. So today we are going to pick up from where we left from the last session, and I really hope that all of us have been doing something regarding Flutter and Firebase. Not just whatever we learn here. I hope on your own you have tried to play around with Firebase. Uh, I want to recognize all of us who have done something and posted in our group. Even if it's a basic login sign up page, the fact that you have got it right and posted there, I want to congratulate you. And please, that is the spirit, that is the way to go, like regarding this. The more you do it, the more you'll be conversant with it, and the more it will help you in your development life. And let me share my screen now. Okay, so today I have like a variety of uh, activities that you'll do, like things that you will learn. uh, we will now go like into some depth of how Firebase works, regarding sending, uh, reading from Firebase, sending data to Firebase, updating, deleting, and all those operations. Uh, Another thing is also how to model our data from the UI so that it will be easier for that interaction of sending and receiving data to and from Firebase. And yeah, I hope it will be an interesting session. Okay, so I'll pick up from the app, I mean, from the code that we had in our last session. So this is the code that I sent yesterday to the group, so you can go check and clone it. I have not changed anything. So if you remember, we had the register page whereby we had some text fields over here. Let me show you them. We had the email, password, phone, and username controllers. Then we disposed them over here. I believe by now you have all this with you. Then we had the text fields to collect the data. That is the username, the phone number, the email, and the password. Then we wrote these two methods, whereby the first one was to create user with email and password coming from the Firebase auth package, which we had in our pubspec YAML file, this one over here. And then after that, we use this .then method to create this instance of Firebase Firestore. Now the second package, which is Firebase, I mean Cloud Firestore, this one. So it gives us this Firebase Firestore instance, and it is an instance of our database. That is the Cloud Firestore database. And we accessed this users collection. Then we had this document, and then we use the set method to upload this data in this format. That is the UID, the username, the email, and the phone, all from the text fields, okay, using the controllers. And then we used another then method from this Firebase Firestore method to navigate to home page. That is if everything is okay. And then we had this, everything we wrote was inside this try and this catch block over here, so that in case of any error, you'll just get this snack bar with the error as the content. Okay, yeah. So I hope that is a nice recap of what we did. And when you come to Firebase, that is when you come to our Firestore database, I quickly pull this up. Firestore. Okay, let me do Firebase. You will see the data that we made. Where is this Firebase console? Inside Firebase, we created this project, the Firebase tutorial project. Then we first we came here to the authentication section. Inside this authentication session, we had this. We created this user. This is the user that we created. That is vic@testing.com, and this is the user ID. And then on the Firebase, on the Firestore database, on the Cloud Firestore that is, we had this users collection, as you have seen here in the code. Where is this? Down here. So the collection was users, this one. And then I don't know why it is bringing this error. Let me refresh this page. So in there, you're supposed to see inside the documents. You're supposed to see one document that we uploaded, the one that contains the user data. Yeah, this one. So we have this document, and you can see the email, the phone, the UID, and the username, the same as the data that we had declared here inside our code. So that was like a very low level interaction from our code to Firebase. And if you remember, I told you that it is not wise to write all of these, Firebase interaction code inside our UI, because as you can see, we wrote this inside our outline button. It is a nice practice to separate these functions from the UI, so that you'll keep the UI clean, and also it will be easy for you to like debug or trace errors when they occur. So I'll quickly go through how data is organized inside this Cloud Firestore, because if you deal with Firebase, this will be your like main database, the one that you'll be interacting with most of the times. And it is important to know how data is organized inside here. So first of all, we have collections. Collections are like big containers that store data, and these are for major groupings of data. Let's say in your app you have users. All information about users will come to the users collection. Let's say you have, let's say orders. You're dealing with some delivery system, so you have orders maybe, so you can create a orders collection. Let's say you have, it is an e-commerce application, so you have some items. So you can have the overall like grouping, the top level groupings of those items as individual collections, and then the subcategories, or the items inside those big categories will be documents. So we have collections, and then we have documents, and this document's name is called the document ID. So it is whatever you decide to name your document over here. So you can just create a document over here, like add document, and then you'll be required to add the document ID. So let's say this is testing document. These are test documents. Then I can save this. Yeah, so our document will appear here, and it will be empty. This document has no data. Okay, so this is like the ID. So this one, when you want to reference this from the code, you will now come inside the users collection, and then you'll use this ID, that is the texting document. Most of the times it is preferred for this ID to be auto-generated, or it is depending on your use case. This ID can be auto-generated. So when you come here to add document, you can click this one, the auto ID. So if I click on this, it will just generate me a random document ID, and then I'll just click on save. Okay, so this ID can be either you can specify it yourself, like in this case, or you can have it auto-generated. Other times, in our case, we had the users collection. We wanted this document ID to be the user ID from authentication. Okay, if you remember from the flow, we were first obtaining the UID. Let me show you here in the code. So after this create user with email and password, we were getting these credentials. Okay, and then these credentials are the ones that now we were accessing the users collection with. Okay, over here you can see the document. For the document, the path is credentials.user.id. So this one is like now you are specifying our own custom document ID. But if you want it to be auto-generated, you can just leave this empty like that, delete that, and this one will auto-generate the ID, and then it will now add the data that you want. But in our case, we wanted it to be the user ID, so that we can identify this document when they are many. Like for instance, now if we had 1, 2, 3, 4, and all other users, let's say you want to edit something in here, how will you identify that document for that specific user? Basically, if every user has a UID, that's the user ID, you will use it to come here now to you will use it to identify that document, and then you can go on and modify the files, the data that is contained inside that document. Okay. All right. So and then we have the third section, this one. So this one now is where you add the fields inside the document. So let's say for a single user, like in our case, we had these files. I mean, this information, that is the email, the phone, UID, and username. If you look at this, you'll realize that this is key value pairs. And what we call key value pairs in that, they are called maps. Okay, if you remember from our that session. So these fields are maps. I mean, it is a one big map of key value pairs. And if you remember from the that session also, we said that keys can be of any data type and also values. But now, when you come to Firebase, when you come to these document fields, the keys must always be strings. That is, all these must be strings. That's why we had in our code, all these are strings. The keys, the UID, the username, the phone, and then the value can be now anything that you want, any data type that you want. Sorry. Any data type that you want. For instance, you can add your, okay, let's use this testing document, the one that is empty. So you can click on add field, and then the field, this one must be a string. So you can have, let's say, a name, and then the type of the value. Now you can select the type here. So you can see the string, number, boolean, map, array, null, timestamp, geo, and all these data types. So this can be a number. You can have numbers like 45, like that. You can add. So name 45. Okay, let's change this to age. Another thing, once you have set this field, you cannot change the key. That's why maybe I'll have to delete this one, and then I'll add another one. Let's say the age is the age. I'll change this to number. If you are doing it from the that side, which we'll do in a few, of course, this number will be int. That is the integer, the data type for numbers in that. So we'll have here age is 20. You can add. You can have even an array, that is a list. So you can have, let's say, something like hobbies, like that, hobbies. So I'll select array. And for the arrays, you'll now have the type and the value. So let's say it's a string. What are my hobbies? Let's say coding. Add that. So the first item will be coding. So you can come here and add another one to the another hobby to the array. So the second one is a string, which is, let's say, swimming. Okay, click on add. So all of these are forming inside these hobbies array. But remember, the key is string. The key age is string, key hobbies is string, but the value can change, can vary. That is, for instance, here we have value of 20, which is an integer. And in the second one, we have an array of 2 strings, coding and swimming. Okay. Yeah. All of this is a map. This is like one big map. So all the data inside one document is a big map. If you notice in our code, we had the traces, these ones over here. Let me have a Then if I save this, I think they're supposed to format here. So as you can see, this is a map, because it's inside the braces, and then you have the keys and the values. Right, so that is the thing that I wanted us to discuss regarding to collections, documents, and the fields inside those documents. We have said that we start with the collection, and they are the larger part, or the big containers that store our general data. That is the high level, let's say users, orders, and all those. And inside, we have now the individual documents, like this. That is the documents, let's say a document for each user. And then now for each document, each document holds a big map of key value pairs. Keys are always strings, and then the values will vary depending on the data that you want to store. And yeah, you can also nest collections inside documents. So you can start another collection over here, that is nesting. But I don't want us to get into that for now, because it will like kind of confuse you at this level. So we can work on this. It is really on special cases that you will require to create collections inside documents. But for now, the collection, document, and fields is enough for a simple application like the one we are going to create in a few. So any questions up to that point? If you have anything, you can just type up our chats, and then I'll be responding as we proceed. Okay, so we'll head over to our code. So what I'll do is I'll just come here to the main.dat, and I'll do away with this register page, because today we are not dealing with authentication. Then I'll just plug in home, this home page. Just copy, and then I'll plug in it over here, and then I'll import it. Click on this, quick fix, import home.dat. Yeah, so for the home, just had an empty scaffold. Ilikuwa tuna app bar. Yeah, so let's first run this. Let's see. Okay, we'll run this first so that we see it. So meanwhile, if you have anything or anywhere maybe you have not understood, you can just type in this. So let me connect my phone. Yeah, very quickly. Okay. Okay, so this is my phone, and it's detected down here. So I'll just run the application, start debugging. Yeah, let's see. I can see something. So how does it store passwords? We said passwords are not stored in the database. You leave that to Google through the authentication methods. For example, over here, you can see they have the email and the user ID. Okay, let me show you this one. So if you remember this code where we had our register password, register page, we had this method that create user with email and password, and you are passing the email and the password. That is the only instance where the password will be used. Once you submit that password using this method, Google receives it and then encrypts it and stores it to their own database. So you don't have to worry about how passwords are managed. That is done completely by Google through the Firebase Auth package. Yeah, so you don't have to store raw passwords in your database. Okay, you just have to pass them here when you are authenticating. So Google will store them for you, and in case you want to, because this was the create user, and maybe you want to log in, that is where the user has their email and their password, and you want to check if the password is correct. there is a method for that in the Firebase auth package. And Google will just go to where it has stored the emails and passwords for your project. Then it will cross-check them for you, and then it will return you either an error or a success case if they are correct details. So you don't completely have to worry about the passwords. Okay, so I hope that is answered. Yeah, because as you can see, this when you come here to Firestore database, you'll notice that this is like a raw database. Like you just have everything over here, so you cannot store user passwords over here as maybe strings ama kitu kama hiyo. So they have to be like stored somewhere secure. That's why Google provides us with the relevant SDKs. In our case, this Firebase auth package, it will take care of everything. Yeah. Any other query? Okay, so our application has run successful. I don't know why it is rotating the screen. Okay. Yeah. So this one is over here. Yeah, nice. Okay, so this is our simple homepage. So I'll just close this register. And yeah, we have this welcome home. It is this basically this app bar. Yeah, so what I want us to look at today, we'll be building a simple note taking application whereby we'll have a simple page of adding our notes, that is the title and some content, then the ad, then that data will be sent to Firebase. And then at the home page here, we will be fetching that data. And then maybe you can see how we can delete that, delete a specific note, maybe edit the content of that note if time allows. And yeah, so we'll do all those operations here. So the first thing is, okay, there is something that I need to mention quickly. So when you're setting this data to Firebase, sometimes, okay, not sometimes, like this is not the recommended approach. What do I mean by this? You don't want to write these things like manually over here, because let's say if you misspell something like this, let's say you have username without the E, and then you send this data to Firebase. When you're fetching this data, remember, maybe your fetching logic will be elsewhere, and you'll be expecting data that has an E for the username. But when Firebase comes, when Cloud Firestore comes to that specific document and searches for the field with that without that E, it will not get any data, and that might bring you a lot of troubles with your application. Like it might take you a bit of time to debug that error, because mainly like you'll not know where that error is coming from. So hard coding things like this is not recommended. So what we do is create things we call models. And data models, they simplify our lives, let's say our development lives. This is where we employ the use of classes in our development. And if you remember from our Dat class, we said that a class in Dat is like a blueprint, like a description of one specific object in our application. And that blueprint can be used to create instances of different items inside our application. For example, when we create how, like we have said, we want some title and some content. So we just have to define how one note item will look like. And then if you want to create another and another, we can just use that blueprint, okay, as our guide. So how do we do that? We create models. So the first thing that we'll do is creating a model. So I'll say note model, note underscore model dot dat. Okay, so this is that class. So we'll say class node model, like that. Then you have your opening. Okay, let me switch off this copilot. Yeah. So inside here, we will define all the things that you want our nodes, one node to have. And then when you want to create instances of this node, you'll just be using this class because you already have a blueprint. Okay. So we'll have final string name. So I mean title. One node will have a title, node item. Then the second thing will be now the content, that is string content, like that. That is now like a little bit description of what you are not basically describes. And then now we have ID. So an ID is whatever we will use to save our document as in Firebase. But for now, we don't have the ID. We want it to be automatically generated, and then we'll add it to that, to this model. So this one will not be final. It will just be string ID, like that. Okay, so this is not ideal. This is now like the identifier of one specific item inside our notes collection. We'll create that in a few. And then we are done. So let's create our constructor for this model. So we'll say node model, like that. And then we have our braces inside here and semicolon to measure. Then we now give the final variables. So we say required. So we add required to fields that must be present whenever you're creating this instance of a node. Okay, so we'll have required string. Required this dot title, comma, required this dot content, but the ID is not required because we don't have it firsthand. So we'll just assign it to some empty string, like that. And yeah, so this is like we are done. This is like now a blueprint of one specific model. So we are basically saying that one node or one node item must have a title, which is required, must have some string content, which is required. And then it will have string ID, which is not required at first, but we'll just leave it as an empty string for now. Then we'll add this later. And the next thing that you might want to do is to write a method that converts this to a map, like this data, that is the title, content, and the ID, a method that will generate for you key value pairs. That is the title as a string, and then the value that you will pass, the content string and the value, and the ID string and the value. For doing this, there is this extension over here called that class generator. That class generator is on this one by someone HZ Good. Okay, you can check it out and enable it, install it and enable it. What it does is that it will generate for us functions that will convert these values, these raw properties, to key value pairs, that is a map, so that it will be easier for us to send this data to Firebase, and when you are fetching the data, to convert back from the map to our model, the one that we have declared here. So to use that generator, the data class generator, you just click at the end of this constructor, and then when you click on this little bulb, it will ask you to, I don't know why is it misbehaving. Let's see. It should have generate JSON over here. Let me do it from here. I don't know why it is not. Okay, I don't know. I think let me just do it manually. So we have some factory node model. We'll have first the toMap method. So we'll have map of string dynamic. I'll do this quickly because if you install that, I really wished. Okay, let me see. Let me first disable it and then I'll enable it again. It should bring these options over here. Okay, so let's go back to our model. If it doesn't, I'll just write. Okay, it's not. So I'll quickly write the method. So we have map string dynamic. There's a comma over here. toMap. So the first method is toMap, and this will take all of these values and convert them to a map so that it will be easier for us to send one node to Firebase. So this one will return this string, comma, and then now we have the individual items. So I have the title, and this one will be title. The second thing is the content, then we have content, sorry, and the final thing is ID. That will be ID. Okay, semicolon. So this method, it will return us a string dynamic. It is like creating a map from our data. So I have to hard code this over here. But if this extension was working, when you click on here, there will be a generate JSON serialization like data. You just click on it and it will generate for you this toMap method. Then I'll have a from map, that is to convert whatever we'll get from Firebase to our class back. So this is a factory node model dot from map. Okay, it takes in a map because it will get a map from Firebase. Map of string dynamic. Okay, and then what will we? So it will return us back a class. So it will return to us a node model class. Title will be map title, title. So where is the map? The map is exactly here. Map. Okay, the title is map title. Remember how we said about accessing the map items from any map? You just use the key title. So the name of the map is map. The key is this. For the content, we have map. The key is content. I have to be careful in typing this because if you access a key that is not there, then that is a recipe for disaster. And we don't want that. That's why there is this generator that does it for you correctly in a simple way. So quickly I'll have map ID. And then these ones, they are all strings. So I'll just say as string, forecasting, and then as string, and finally as string. Okay, like that. So our toMap and from map methods are complete. And yeah, so with this, you can now easily create an instance of a node, convert it to map, and get anything that is a map string dynamic and convert it back to return as a node model. That is when you're fetching back from Firebase. We'll have one final method over here. That is the copy with. I'll show you the use of this in a few. So we'll have copy with method, and this takes in the contents of this model, but optional. But okay, don't worry about this. Content, then string ID should be nullable ID. And then it returns a new class now, not model. Yeah. So the title will be either the title or the title from our class. Same thing for the content, it will be either the content, and if it's empty, just return the one that we had initially, that is this content. Okay. Also for the ID, you'll notice that anywhere I'm having an instance of not model, the ID is not there. Okay, I have to like call it by myself because up here it is optional. Okay, so we have the ID. So it's either the ID given. If it's empty, let's just return the one that we have, this dot ID. Sorry, ID, like that. And then finally we'll have semicolon. Okay, so this copy with method, it is used to create a new class or a new model from an old one, but when changing only one or few, like, or some contents, and if anything has not changed, it will just be returned like the original one. Okay, so let's say we'll use this in the case whereby the ID is not determined for now, but when we register a new document over here, we'll get that ID. Then we'll want to add it to this model, not model, so that we'll send complete data to as the fields. Okay, so we create this copy with method, and don't worry about this also, because if you use that extension, it will generate for you. You'll also see a generate copy with method. So the two main the two main operations that you'll do here using this data class generator is to generate the JSON serialization, that is the to map and the from map, and then you'll click again on this, and then you'll see generate copy with method. This one, it will do for you something like this. Okay, now we are done. Let me close this register. So back to our home page. We want now to create a new page whereby we will be adding our notes. So I'll say we'll use let's have some button over here. So floating action button, and for this floating action button, we'll have a button that navigates us to some add page. Floating action button. These are widgets provided from the material. The floating action button requires some few parameters like the on pressed. So we'll have on pressed, navigator.off context .push. The route is material, page route, like that. The builder with context. Then we'll return add note page. These are pages that you have not created yet, but we'll create it in a few. That's why it's bringing up this error. So let me first have a comma, and a semicolon. So let's create this add note page so that we will have our text fields here to create the notes. So this add note very quickly, dot Then first order of business, import material. Then we have a stateful widget. Remember, we need the stateful widget so that we can have our dispose methods and for the text fields and all those. So we'll name it add note page. Okay. Then we'll have a scaffold over here and a simple up bar. Up bar like that. The title will be some text saying add new note like that. Let's have this as a block letter. So for the home, you have not imported the add note file. So I'll import that. Then add a const. Okay. So let me refresh this. So you can see our floating action button, but it doesn't have any icon. So I'll just add some icon. Icon on my child there. It's child. Just have icon. Icon. Sorry. Icon. Icons.add. I believe that yeah, it should be. Okay. So if I save this, nice. So you can see our add button over here, and if I press it, it will bring us to this add new note file. Then the next thing is creating our text controllers, the two controllers, that is for the note title and for the contents text fields. So we'll have final title controller is equal to text editing controller. Similarly, we'll have final contents controller is equal to text editing controller, like that. I'm moving a little bit fast over here because we covered this in our previous session. So we'll have our dispose method over here, title controller dot dispose, the contents controller dot dispose. Yeah, you have to dispose those because of memory management issues. So inside our body, I'll just have a column, and then for the children, I'll have let me have a sized box of height 100 so that it doesn't start from the immediate beginning. For these const, I'll just ignore them for now. Yeah, so that our work will be clear. Okay, and then I'll have the first text field. Text field. And then we'll have our second text field. Okay, if I save this, you'll see these ones two over here. The first one, the controller, start with the controller. This one will take the title controller. I'll remove this const. And then we'll have some hint or label, I don't know, decoration, input decoration. Yeah, inside here we'll have the hint text. So this will be title. Okay. And then for the second one, we'll have the controller as the content controller, this one. For the decoration, I'll just copy this and paste it down here. Then I'll change this from title to contents. Okay, so let's save this. And, yeah, title and the contents. Let's remove this from the edges. So I'll just wrap the whole column with some padding. Yeah, all 8. So there'll be a padding of 8 pixels all around. Then we'll have our button. So below these two text fields, inside the column, we'll have some size box of height, let's say 10. Height should be 10. And then we have some outline button. So on press, let's leave that empty for now. The child is some text, add or submit, I don't know. Yeah, like that. Okay, so this is just a simple place whereby we will have our title over here. Then we'll have our contents. Then we'll click on submit to submit this data to Firestore. Okay, so before we now write the submit logic, of course, for today, I'm not planning to write it inside the UI. So what I'll do is that I'll create a new file, and this file I'll just name it Firebase services. Let's say services dot dat. So this is where now we'll create our methods to interact with the Firebase service, and then we'll just be using those methods here, like for instance on the on-press. So instead of writing all those logics over here, we'll just be calling these methods directly. And yeah, so this Firebase services file, I'll create one class and I'll call it Firebase services like that. Inside here, we'll create static methods. Okay, this one is disconnected. Yeah, don't worry. So don't worry about that. So over here, we'll create some few methods that will help us to interact with Cloud Firestore. And the first method that we'll have is to send a note to Firebase, of course. And then we'll have another method to get all notes, from Firebase, that is Firestore, sorry. And then we'll have the third one will be to delete a note from Firestore. And the final one will be maybe to do what? Maybe update a note. Okay, so if time allows, we'll also have this update a note. And yeah, so let's start with the first one. So what I want to do first, like before we do this, is to create an instance of Firestore. Or okay, we can just do it on the fly. So the first method, I'll have it as static. The meaning of this, I mean, the importance of having this static before you write the method is to help you access this method outside using the class that it is in. So when we have static, let's say future, because it's a future method. A future meaning that the operation that it does takes a little bit of time to complete. Okay, so we'll have send node to Firebase. That is the name of our method. Okay, and it must have an async keyword. Okay, so the async is the one that I was telling you that it annotates methods that needs to be awaited, that the operations they do are not like instant. For example, when you want to send one node to Firebase, you see that process involves some sending through the internet, and then you wait, and then you get the response. So it is an async function, or it's a future. Okay. Yeah, so if you hover over this send node to Firebase name, you'll see that its type is a future dynamic. So we don't know what data it will be. Okay, we can have it as a void, future void, meaning it will not return anything. We are not expecting anything because we are just sending one node to Firebase. Or you can just remove this for now, just have it as a future. Okay, so inside, the first thing, remember now we are here. It's like now I want you to imagine us, we are now here. We want to access this we want to have a new collection over here. Then we want to create a document. When you create that document, you want to get this document ID or the reference of that document, and then we will add it here alongside other information of that document. That is the title and the content and the ID. So this ID, the one that we get from this document, will be used as a reference inside this field. You will have an ID field inside here, as we have done in our, as we have created in our model, in our note model user, this ID. At first you don't have it, so we'll have to create an empty document, get the ID, and then assign it to this note model alongside these two, the title and the content. So how do we do that? So the first thing, we will have final document reference is equals to Firebase Firestore, Firebase Firestore.instance. So this one will give us an instance of Cloud Firestore. Okay, so by doing this, if you notice, this one has imported this Cloud Firestore package. So it is the one that gives us this Firebase Firestore, so that you can interact now with our database using this instance. And then the next thing you do is collection. You specify the collection that you want to access. In our case, we are naming it notes simply. And then you have doc, that is for the document. And remember now how I told you that if you want this doc to have an auto-generated ID, you just leave it as blank. But if you want to specify your own ID, you can pass it in here as a string. Okay, so this one takes an optional string. It can either be a string or empty, whereby you by leaving it empty, you're giving it the freedom to auto-generate it. So in our case, we'll just have it auto-generated. So up to here, we have some document reference. Sorry, this should be document reference. And this document reference is basically, we are now holding all the information about one document that we have created, including its ID, when it has been created, and all those information about that. So we have created one document, and the ID or the name of this is auto-generated. So we want now to get the name. So how do we get the name? That is the ID of that document. So final doc ID is equals to document reference, this one, the reference dot ID. Simple, like that. So these are string doc ID. So use this document reference, then it has the ID property. This document's given ID within the collection, simply. So with this ID now, we want now to assign this ID to our model, so that now you use the set method to send all that data together to Firebase Firestore. So how do we do that? We say, first of all, the send node to Firebase requires a note model note. It requires a note. This one is the one that will come with the title and the content. But at this stage, it will not be having the ID because we don't know the ID. We are auto-generating the ID through this process. That is calling the instance of Firebase Firestore, and then specifying the collection, and then specifying the doc, but we don't give the path or anything in here. Sorry, in here. By leaving it this way, we are just telling it to auto-generate for us the ID, so that then you can access the ID using the document reference dot ID. So we now have the ID. You can now add it to the note. Remember now the note comes in with only the title and the content. So how do we do that? It's simple. We use the copy with method. You remember the copy with method that we had earlier? So this is how we do it. So we have final new, let's call this new note yeah, new note with id now is equals to note, the one that we had, the one that you're receiving over here, dot copy with. Okay, copy with method. So this copy with method, it takes in any of those. So you can have a new title, you can have a new content or a new ID, but independently. Like if you don't specify a new one, the existing ones, that the ones that are coming in will just remain. So copy with just gives you access to modify one, like individual items within that class. Okay, so and what do you want to modify? It's the ID. So the ID will be the doc ID, this one. So we assign the newly obtained ID, the one that is auto-generated, this one, to the ID of our note. Now, this new note with ID is a complete note. Like it now has the three things. It has the title, incoming, the contents, incoming, and then this ID, which is auto-generated here. Okay. I hope that is clear up to that point. So now what is left of us is just to send to the data. So what do? Await. So this process will take a little bit of time. So we'll do await docref or document reference. Now this reference document reference dot set. The data that we want is new note with ID. Paste that dot to map semicolon. Okay, so what have I done over here? So if you can look carefully, we have these up to here. We now have a new note, and we are ready to send this to the fields over here. So we are already here. We have remember the first thing that we got after generating this document is a document reference. It is the one that carries all the information about this document. We now want to set these fields, and remember they are maps. Okay, remember we said the fields here are maps of key value pairs of information. And for our note with new note with ID, this is just a model. Okay, if I hover over this, you'll see that this is the model that you created. So how do we make this model to become a map? That's right, we use a to map method, the one that you created over here. Where is the note model? Over here. So we created, if you go back, you remember we created this to map method, the one that is converting everything that you want to string dynamic. Okay, so I hope now this makes sense why we need to have this to map method, because it helps convert, like it loops through all the values inside all the properties of our class and converts them to map so that they can be set. So this is like a substitute of whatever we had in the last lesson when we were setting. Remember here we are writing the raw map ourselves by giving these properties handwritten, like we were hard coding them over here. But now it gets easy with a class because because we just have to create this to map method for our class, and then it will be easy now to send this data, receive the data from Firebase using the from map method, and all those operations. Okay. Right. So our method is done. I think now everything is done. So we are getting the notes with only the content and the title. We are having the Firebase Firestore instance, and then specifying the collection and an empty document to mean that the ID will be auto-generated. We are getting this document reference, which carries all the information about specific document. It is the one that is used to set. It is the one that gets us the ID. So this reference is so important. So we are obtaining the ID from that reference, and we are now using this copy with method to modify the note model that is incoming and assigning the ID property to the newly obtained ID. And from this operation, we are getting this new note with ID now. the one that has the three complete properties. That is the title, content, and the ID. And then now you're using the same reference that we obtained over here to set. But now, since we have our model as model, not key value pairs as required by this set method, we are using the to map, the one that we created inside this model, to convert our class to a map. I really hope that that is so clear. So the next thing is now testing it out. So I'll navigate to our add new node class. And I will now call this function, the send nodes to Firebase here with this node. And then we will see if it will appear on the other side from Firebase. So I'll go to the add node. And yeah, so on press, so if I press this, the first thing is to mark this as asynchronous, like that, because we will await some operations. That is this future, because this is a future, so you have to await for it to complete. Okay, so inside this we will have Firebase. Let me copy the name of class Firebase services over here, like that, and then dot. Let's see. I have not imported this. Okay, then does send node to Firebase. So this is it. And then it is requiring a node. Okay, so what we'll do is that okay, it's saying that one parameter is needed, and we need now to create an instance of a node with the title and the contents from this page. So how do we do that? So final node model, sorry, node model node is equals to node model node model. The title will come from the text controller. So I'll just say title controller dot text. Then the content, also the contents, sorry, contents controller dot text, like that. Then a semicolon. Okay, so we have, so when you look at this, we have created a new node which is of type node model. And then for the node model, we have instantiated our model over here. The title, we have given it as title controller, the content as content controller dot text for both of the cases. And remember, the reason that, why we don't have, okay, you can specify the ID, but you don't know it, but you are leaving it out, and everything is okay. Why? Because we specified it not, I mean, for this, we had them as required. So anytime you're creating an instance of a node model, you must have these two. But for the ID, you will look at the model, with our model, node model. The title is required, the content is required, but the ID is just set to basically an empty string. Okay, that's why when you're creating this instance of node model over here, so that you get this node object, you're not being asked about the ID, but the title and contents is a must. So if I delete this, let's say, it will say, it will bring an error. It will bring up an error. The named parameter content is required, but there is no corresponding argument. So try adding that or deleting all of this. So you can see you can't not write this content, but you can leave out the ID because it's not required as per this constructor. Okay, so that's the work of a constructor. It helps us state the properties of our class that are required, maybe not required, optional, and all that. Okay, that's why we have this over here. So now we have to pass our nodes to our model, I mean our method, and everything is good. Let's see. Let me save this first. Then I'll give a sample title. So a new note for today, let's say learn Flutter. Sorry, learn Flutter. Then the contents will be we will enjoy learning Flutter. Sorry, learning Flutter, like that. So this is the title, this is the content. Then text fields, I have already assigned the controllers, so they'll take this text. Then we'll have this one as this, and then over here we have this await. I almost forgot about that. We have this await because this is a future. The send note to Firebase, remember we specified it as a future, so you have to await over here. And then after that, we'll have await this. After it's done, you can just navigate back. So you just say navigator dot pop context like that. Yeah, it is telling me to avoid using these contexts in await circumstances, but I'll just ignore this for now. Yeah. So what we have done here, we have specified this one as async because it's an asynchronous function. We said you'll have to wait for some few seconds for this to complete, and then only when this is complete, that's when it will navigate. Okay, that's the meaning of this await. So async and await, they work together in futures, in methods that are futures. Okay, so yeah, fingers crossed. I hope this really works. So let me restart this the final time. Then I'll click on submit. You can see we have navigated back. We'll now head over to our Firebase and refresh. I really hope that that one is successful. Yeah, you're supposed to see a new collection called notes created and one document in it, and I will be happy. Yeah, so our collection is here, the notes collection. It has successfully been created. Let's see. So there is a new document. This is the document ID, the one that we obtained from the document reference. And the same ID is the one that we passed to our model using the copy with function. And you can see it over here. So you can have the title, the content, the ID, and yeah, this is whatever we had. So you can see the advantage of having a model is that you don't have to worry about the spellings of all this, like the content, the ID, the title. The moment you just created your model and you certified everything is okay over here, any place that you want to create a new note, you'll just be calling this note model. You just be creating an instance of note model. So maybe you can try this again. We have a new title. Let's say what is our new note? Let's say taking a walk. Taking a walk is the title. Contents. I will take a morning walk. Sorry, a morning walk. Like that. Let's submit this. Yeah, it's gone. So when you come back here, you'll see there is this document that has been created. Again, the ID of this document is the one that we have inside the fields as an ID field, in the content and the title. Okay, so you can now send multiple times your data to Firestore, and yeah, in a very safe and efficient manner. Any query up to that point, maybe? Yeah, I can see we are all happy about that. So we'll proceed to the next operation. That is getting all nodes from Firestore. So we'll get all nodes that are stored in our Firestore. In our case, they are two, the ones that we have just sent. And then we'll display them over here at the home page. Yeah, so let's write the method. So the first thing, this is a static. Remember, we are having it as static so that you can access it in our UI. Let me show you. So if, for instance, I remove this static, the function will still remain okay, but now in the add node, you cannot access it over here. Instance member send nodes can't be accessed using static access. So you have to mark it as static so that you can access it outside this class. So I'll have it as static. Then I'll write the second one to get all nodes. So this is a future, and this future will return to us a list, and it will be a list of node model, that is. So when you look at this, you'll see that we are returning a future, and it is a future of list of node models, like this. This is together, like these are list of node models, because that is what we want basically. And I will call it get nodes from Firebase. Sorry, Firebase, like that. And yeah, this one will not require any parameters because we're just querying the nodes collection. And yeah, we don't need anything as an input. And then for the output, we'll have final nodes. So all nodes, let's say all nodes, like that, is equals to await. So this is an asynchronous function, so you'll mark it as async. Then you'll have an await Firebase Firestore instance dot instance dot collection. Again, you have to specify the collection that you want to interact with. In our case, it's the nodes collection. Then dot get. Okay, just like that. Dot get. So the new thing here is this dot get method. So it fetches the documents for this query. Okay, so this is a method that fetches all the documents inside the given collection. So we are here. So we have specified this nodes collection. So how do we do to obtain all of these documents? Use the dot get. So you have collection nodes dot get. So it gets you a list of all these documents. Okay, and when you look at this, what is this? It is a query snapshots of map string dynamic. Okay, so let's see how we can manipulate this to get us the documents, the specific documents. So the first thing that you do, you can say now you want to return now the documents. So you say return all nodes. All nodes is whatever we have here. This one dot docs. So docs is a list. That is this. Is a list of query snapshots. So we are now here. So docs. So amongst all the information that we have for this nodes collection, we want these docs. That's why we have specifically accessed the docs. So all nodes dot docs. Okay. Then dot, because now this is a list, you can now use all those list methods that we have in that. That is, for example, dot length. You can have the dot length to see the length of how many documents are inside that collection. You can have dot fast, dot is empty. All of these are list methods in that. Okay, but the one that we are interested in is the dot map. And what dot map does is that it iterates through all of those items, and then it takes one, like per each iteration. Then it does whatever you will specify it to do inside these brackets. Okay, so dot maps goes through this list of documents. So what you are basically saying, or what you want, or rather want to do, is we want to go through all of these documents. First of all, we have the docs. So notes.docs. So it will give us all these document snapshots. Then we want to go through all of these documents. So let's say we are on this one. Take all of these contents, which are map of string dynamic, and then convert them from now this map back to our model. Okay, and then have them now as a list again. So it will come here, take all of this, convert them from map of string dynamic back to our node model using the from map method that we wrote. Remember, we had the to map, and now we are using the from map because we want to convert all of this. So when we are here, we'll iterate all through these documents doing that conversion, and then finally we'll return them as a list. Okay, so that is the function of this dot map method. So we'll have docs.map, and then E is one document now, one document. You can have it as anything, but I'll just label it as one document so that you'll understand. So we are mapping through each document. So we are getting one document, and what are we doing with one document? So we'll have note model dot from map. Note model dot from map accepts a map, and one document is a map, so we can pass it over here. This one is converting this one document from map, and it will give us back the note model. Remember, when we look at this from map method, what is it returning? It is returning a note model, our class now, the one that we want. Okay, and what is it accepting? It is accepting a map of string dynamic. Okay, so it will give it, when you give it any map, it will go through all of the map's contents over here, converting them to our model, creating for us our model. Okay, and then returning to us that model. Yeah, so we are here. Then at the end, we now want all of this to list. Have a to list method over here. Okay, and then yeah, like that. So what am I missing over here? The argument of type this can't be assignment to can't be assigned. One document. What am I missing? One document dot data. Yeah, should be dot data like that. So one document itself is not a map of string dynamic, but rather it's data. So you have to specify that it's data that you want inside here. Yeah. So this is the method that we'll use to return to us all nodes from Firestore, and I think it is good if I repeat this again, like if I go through this again. Yeah, so first of all, it is a static method so that we can access it from our UI. Then we have, it is a future of list note model. So in future, after it is done, it should return to us what? A list of note models. And remember, we are here. We want to get a list of these note models. This one, this one, this one, this one, etc. Okay. But what we have in these documents is not a model. Is key value pairs. It's a map. Okay. So there should be a way whereby we will convert the maps that we get to note models so that we'll return that list. Okay. So the first thing that you do is you get all the documents, all the snapshots inside the that collection. So you do Firebase firestore.instance.collection notes.get. So use this .get method. It fetches all the documents for this query inside inside that collection. With all these, you have the .docs that is getting a list of all the documents included in this snapshot. So snapshot is like what the current state, like the current contents of a specific collection at a given time. That is what a snapshot is basically is. So we have this. So it is from here whereby we are now using this .map method to iterate through all of these documents. And what this iteration does is that it takes one document. So it will be taking one document and then converting it from map to our note model. So from map, it accepts one document data and then returns to us a note model, and then goes to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, until it is done with all of these documents inside the all notes collection. And then you have this to list method at the end so that it can return us a list of note models. Remember, now from here we no longer have the map of key value pairs. We have the note model, and then we have them as main because we are iterating through all of those documents. I really hope that that is well explained. We are now going to use this feature method in our UI. So let me bring up my phone. Yeah, like that. So I'll run this again. So inside our UI, we are going to do something interesting. Yeah, we are going to do something interesting. So at the home, we had this up bar and the floating action button. Now I want to have the body over here. Let it finish building for now. Then we'll continue. So any queries up to that point? Yeah, I hope you're, yeah, okay. Does the logic apply when working with APIs? Yeah, it kind of applies because most of the APIs that you interact with send or receive data using JSON, and inside our class you can create the to JSON and the from JSON method, of which those can be created using the extension that I just shown you. So when you come to your model, for instance, let's say we have this not model, and I don't know why this extension failed. But when you're here, when you click on generate JSON serialization, it will create for you 4 methods: to map, from map, to JSON over here, to JSON, and from JSON. So when you're interacting with an API, most probably you'll be interacting with JSON values. So you'll need to convert your model to JSON and vice versa, maybe fetching from an API. And then you map it to back to your model so that you can now use your model across your application. So the same logic applies. Yeah. So we are here at the home. So I'll close everything. Let me close some folders and files. Then come to home. So between this up bar and the floating action button, we have our body. And this is where now the things start to get interesting. Yeah, because we'll be using something new over here. So when we are dealing with futures, let's say in our case, we are doing a future which we are expecting it to return to us certain values, or rather certain items. And there are items that you want to display in our UI. In our case, the note items over here. There is a widget called a future builder. And what a future builder does is that you give it the future or the method, the actual method that you are expecting it will return some values. And then the future itself does the act of fetching those values. And I mean, the future builder, it will fetch for you the values, and it will give you some ways whereby you can control how that fetching process is going on. For example, the loading part, whereby you are waiting for the actions to be loading, I mean, for the items to be loading, what will be done on the UI. Okay, you want to show the user some progress is being made, or rather there is something going on instead of just having them await on a blank screen and then popping out the data. Okay, so for that we use the future builder. So this is how you write a future builder. Future builder, okay, like that, sorry. And the feature builder, it takes in, the first thing is the future. And the future is any future function, a future dynamic function. In our case, it will be this, the one that we have in our Firebase service. So we'll just copy the name. Firebase services dot get, I think it was something like, okay, sorry for that. Get notes from Firebase, like this. Okay, like that. So this is our future. Okay, let me import it. Yeah, so this is the function that we are expecting. It will return for us some data. Then that data we can add it to, I mean, you can display it to the UI. Yeah, and the next thing that this feature builder, sorry, the next thing that this feature builder accepts is the builder. Of course, the builder part is now responsible for creating the UI based on how this fetching is going on. So we have the feature builder. It takes in the first thing as the future. That is the method that is being awaited. and then the builder that will help us now like track the progress. Okay, like what is the state of that method at a particular time. It is similar to what I said, the snapshot here at the fire at the firestore. What is the state of this collection at this particular time? Is the fetching going on? Is it loading? Is it done? Is there an error? Is it empty? All of those scenarios. Okay, and this builder takes in two things. The first thing is the context. Then the next thing is the snapshot, like that. And then outside I'll just have these braces. Okay, now we have to return some UIs. Okay, so the first thing that we check is if there is some loading going on. So we have if, so we'll now start writing our if statements over here to check all those scenarios. So we'll say if snapshot dot connection state equals to connection state dot waiting. So this is how we check if there is some loading going on, like that. So we can have connection state dot loading, we can have dot done, dot, I think these are the values. The values, I mean, dot active, done, none, or waiting. In our case, we want to check if it is waiting, and then if so, what will we return? A simple center, and the child will be a circular progress indicator, like that. So this is a case where now there is some loading going on. So we are checking against these snapshots for the connection state, okay, like this. And we are saying that if the connection state is waiting, return a center circular progress indicator. That is some loading activity going on. And then we have the second if. So if this snapshot has error, so you say snapshot dot has error. So has error, sorry, has error. So there is this has error bool. It's a true or false. So returns whether this snapshot contains a null error value. So it is always true if the asynchronous computation slash result of the failure. So yeah. So basically this checks if there is an error in our snapshot. So if there is an error, what will we return? Let's say something like text, something unexpected occurred, okay, and then we have a semicolon. So if there is no error, that means this is okay, and there is no waiting, like waiting has been done. What do you want to return? So we return now our list view builder. List view builder, remember we said it is the one that is used to build things lazily. That is, it will build things depending on the items that are incoming. So if there are incoming 10 items, it will just have provision for those 10 items. Yeah, it is the one that is used to build a list automatically. Remember in our first UI session, we had the houses, but we were using a list view only. But then in that case, we were supplying the children. You remember? Whereby we are creating one house and then we are duplicating it. But for now, we don't know how many items that will be coming from this snapshot. So we use a builder. So a builder will build items depending on the length of the list that is inside this snapshot. So you use a list view builder, list view.builder. So the builder will take in the context, and the index, this, and then it will return something. So in our case, let us just return a list style. A listed is a widget, and some semicolons over here. So we'll just pass in some details like this. So the argument type list cannot be. What is wrong with this? see, it was okay. Yeah. Why is it? Yeah. Okay, let's do this. I'll just delete this. Then I'll have them as brackets, and then I'll just return list style like that. Yeah, I think this is better. This is even more readable. So we have checked for the error state and the loading state, and then now we are going for the data, like has data state. And then actually you can have this inside if snapshot dot has data, like that. Then return this, and then you can have now another return for if there is no data, like loading has been done, there is no error, but there is no data, so we can return just some text, no data, like that. Yeah, I think that's nice. I'll just leave it like we don't include that has, just have the list view builder direct, like that. Okay, so for each item we are returning a list style. So item length, so the list view builder accepts some item count, so you'll say snapshot dot data, the data inside the snapshot, which is when you look at this, it will be a list of not model. So how did it know that we are expecting a list of not model? It is because of the future that we gave over here. Okay, so this future is a future list of not models. So whatever snapshot that will be coming in, if everything is complete over here, it will be a list of not models. So it's the one that we are accessing over here as snapshot.data. Yeah, so it will be .data dot length. Yeah, because now we are knowing that we know that this is a list, so we are now accessing its length, like that. So I have a null check over here because we have not checked if the data is null. Okay, so we are just having this null check to ascertain that the data at this point will not be null. Yeah, so the list style, item builder, context index, list style. So if you want to access one item, that is one node from this snapshot.data list, you just say that final node, just one node now, is equals to snapshot.data at a given index. Sorry, index. Okay, index, like that. This can't be accessed conditionally because we don't know if it will be null, but for now I'm just sure it will not be null. So I have this. So the ideal case will be to check if snapshot.has data, and then you return this. So there will be no need for these null checks. Yeah, so node, you now have one node, and this is a node model now from here. You have obtained it from this list of snapshot.data at index. So the first one will be index 0, will be node 0, the one that we have here as the first one. Then node 1, like that. Okay, so for the list style, it has something like the title. So for the title, I'll pass in node.title. Remember now, this is note is now our model that we created. So it has the properties that we had stated: the title, the content, and the ID. So for the title, we have note.title. This is a text, not a widget. So you have it inside a text widget. Note.title, like that. A list style also has a subtitle property. So we'll give it another text. Inside here we'll have note dot content, like that. Yeah, I hope that is clear for now. So I will run again the application, and then hopefully it will show us the loading. So we expect to see some loading for this connection state.waiting. And then because we are kind of certain that there will be no error, we'll just see this list view builder with two list styles, because our list snapshot.data list currently has two items, and then each item will be mapped to a list style with the title and the content as the title and subtitle respectively. Yeah. As it is building, anyone with any query, you can be dropping it here. But I really hope that we are all together up to that point. Yeah. So apart from a feature builder, we have a stream builder. And that one now, instead of having this feature and awaiting, it connects to Firebase direct, whereby we now have a constant listening of data. So when you add the data, it doesn't depend on any refreshing, because for this you just see one loading and then the data. So if you want to refresh the data, you'll either create your own refresher or restart the app or something like that. But for the future builder, it connects like our app to Firebase direct using a stream of connection. And then yeah, okay. If you say, I went to talk a lot and we didn't notice the loading, so I'll just restart this again. So when I restart this, you'll notice there is some loading for some few seconds, and then we have our list over here. And these two are the items that are in our database, like this. Okay, the first one, taking a walk, and learning Flutter, the ones that we have here. So now when you have your properties over here, you can now decorate your list styles and do whatever operations that you want to do on each note item. And yeah, so I want now to have the final thing as maybe some delete icon over here, whereby we'll be passing the ID of each specific node, and then we'll be deleting it from this collection over here. So if you want to delete this node, what will you do? You'll get this ID, so the node ID, and then you access the nodes collection and use the delete method. We'll see the delete methods that we have for the collection. Yeah, so I'll quickly head over to our. So this one was successful at least. So we can now add. Okay, let's by the way try adding a new note. I will say going to bed. Going to bed. The contents can be, let's say, I will sleep early today, like that. Then submit this. Okay, so when I have submitted it, remember we said that after submitting you should pop that page and return back. But as you can see, this one has not updated. Why? Because this feature builder has not been rerun again, because widgets have this build method, and this is ran only once. And if you want to trigger any changes to this, I mean, if you want this to be run again, various ways are like having something called set state to rerun this build method. That is where now the feature builder will be rerun again. And the set state is inside the stateful widgets. But for the stateless widgets, remember we said once they are rendered, they cannot be shown again. So one of the ways that you can change this is by maybe changing this to a stateful widget and then implementing some refresh feature. Like for example, those of us who use social media like Twitter, you can see there is a way that you can pull this down and some loading occurs again. That is basically calling this feature again and then rebuilding the list. Okay. Another thing is by now using a stream builder instead of a feature builder, whereby you connect direct to the collection, and the instance that someone adds a document, it appears here automatically. Okay. Yeah, but because of time, we will not do that today. I think I should leave that to you for you to do, and then we'll tackle it the next meeting. But for now, I'll just refresh this. So if I refresh, you'll see some loading, and then our third note will now appear here, because when I hot reloaded this, the build method was ran again. Okay, and now you can see our third note. So finally, inside this list style, for the individual nodes, I want to add a delete button. So very quickly, for the list style, we have the trailing as an icon button. So I'll just use an icon button instead of an icon. On press, let me leave this empty for now. The icon will be icons.delete. Icon will have icons.delete. Delete like that. Yeah, let me save this. Okay, so you can see these three have the delete. So I want, when I click this, what do I want? We want now to get the ID of this item and then pass it to some method, which will locate that specific node in our collection and delete it. Okay, so first of all, I want to convert this to a stateful widget so that you can see the. So there is this convert to stateful, so you can just convert it to stateful widget direct using VS Code. So you click on this small bulb, it shows you some actions that you can carry out. So as you can see now, with this stateful widget, there is the create state. This is the state that is created. And then now you can run things like set state inside this. Set state is basically calling this build method without disposing of the whole page. Okay, so the page is re-rendered again. That is the meaning of state in Flutter, that like holding the data that is used to cause some rebuilding of the UI. Okay, but don't worry about all this. There is a session that we will have about state management, and yeah, so don't worry about this. For now, I just want this as stateful, so that after deleting this, I can run set state instead of restarting, reloading the application manually. So I'll very quickly head over to our Firebase services, and then for the delete note from Firestore, we'll just use the same criteria that we used in our previous methods right here. So we'll just make it static. It will be a future delete node from Firebase, like that. Firebase, sorry. And then it will take in a string ID. Remember, now we want to take a specific node. So you have to locate it in a collection by use of its ID. So this is a sync because we will await for some operations inside this method. And what are we awaiting? Firebase Firestore again dot instance dot collection. The collection, you have to specify the collection. In our case, it's nodes, like that. And then here .doc. Now we want to pick out one document. So how do? We pass the ID. So we pass in the ID that we have given for the method. So this is why it is important to have this ID, because this ID inside the document, remember I told you that if you want to have a specific document ID, you pass it here. So by passing this here, we are now obtaining all the information about this specific document. Okay, dot delete. So we have this dot delete function. It deletes the current document from the collection. And yeah, that's it basically. Nothing else. So you just locate your document using the ID, and then you apply this delete method, and you're done. Okay, so we'll go back to our icon button. So inside here, the first thing that we want to do, because remember we said that this is an asynchronous function, so we'll have to await. We'll have to annotate this with async like that. And then we will await Firebase Firestore again, Firebase services, I mean. Firebase services is our class. You can name this however you want, like FB services, Firebase services, but I prefer these long, like kind of descriptive namings so that it will be easier for you or for anyone else working on your code. So Firebase dot delete node from Firebase. The ID will be nodes.id. Remember now we have the node model. So you just pass in nodes.id because it is for this specific list style, which carries one node. Okay. So again, you now see the importance of having a model instead of passing the raw data in. If there were no this model, you'd be having some trouble like passing around a specific item across different parts. Like now you can see it's just easy passing in the ID. If you want to display the name, if you want to display anything, you just pass it from this model. Okay. Yeah. But now after this, I now want the set state to run. So because we are awaiting, set state will only run when this is done. So that's the meaning of await. So this cannot go on unless this one completes. Okay. So I'll restart this. Then let's. Okay. Yeah. As you can see, that one is gone. You can see some loading. After this is has finished deleting, you can see some loading. That is now set state in action. It reruns this build method. It is now like similar to having our manual hot reload. Yeah, but now because of this set state, we can easily run our build method again and update the values. So I'll do this for this. Yeah, like that. And yeah, it works. So let's test this a little. I mean, the last time. So the last notice, maybe close the meeting like that. You can say the content is the meeting was successful. Then submit this. So it is not here yet. So I'll just reload and nice. You can see our meeting over here. I mean our notes, the one that you have added. And when you click on this, deleting, then some loading, then a new list. And I think we'll stop there for now. I hope that was really elaborate. So I'll take in some questions. Yeah. Yes. So I will push this code to GitHub, same repository that we had the previous one, because I really want us to like continue with this. So I'll push this to GitHub. Okay, let me actually do it now. Git add this, git commit, and message. Firebase. So I am waiting for any issues or questions because I can see it's already some 2 minutes to 10, so that you can close the meet. So Firebase faster. Interaction. Yeah. Git push. Yeah. So the code is on the GitHub, so you can access it there. Let me confirm if it is there. Anyone with a question? Yeah, does the logic kindly remember to share the GitHub link and also the recorded video? Yeah, don't worry, the link will be sent. After building the app, can I publish without necessary going to after building the app, can I publish without necessary going Play Store? I didn't quite get your question. Maybe you can like elaborate further. How have you connected the Visa? So Visa, it's just a software. Like you just download Visa. I'll send the link to download in the group. Then when you connect your device, it detects all the devices connected, and then you can click on the specific one. Yeah, it has like something like this. So the devices, the Android devices or iOS devices connected are here. Then you click on this, and it brings up this. So you just have to download the software. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Uh, I'm still waiting for questions. So after building the app, can I publish without necessarily going Play Store? Maybe like generate the APK